Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today is Monday, which means I will be going live with the Find Your Beauty Over 30 teams. It's a great opportunity to use some of the products that I've got floating around my collection that I haven't used recently. So let's jump right into this video because I am already running behind schedule. So to get started, I'm going to use a little bit of this Kosasport Lipfuel, and I have the shade Flow. I'm just gonna run this over my lips to kind of get everything primed for later. It has a little bit of a mintiness to it. The shape is also kind of awkward to work with. It's got this kind of more like oblong shape, which is kind of odd, but oh well. And then for primer, I want things to look nice and smooth, so I'm gonna use a little bit of my Beauty Blender, the Leveler Primer, and this is in light medium. So this is quite a silicone primer, and I like to just kind of dot it around my face and then spread it out. And I've done my skincare, I've had my sunscreen on, I've done a few applications today. Let me apply this and I'll show you the sunscreen I used. I ended up using the Skin Aqua UV Moisture Gel sunscreen. So just a nice kind of hydrating sunscreen, a little bit more of a silicone serum feel, so that's gonna help smooth the pores. And then the Beauty Blender Leveler Primer also has quite a kind of silicone look, so it will help kind of smooth the appearance of the skin. And then also, nothing new, I'm using a little bit of my Hourglass The Veil Eyeshadow Primer just to prep my eyes. I don't intend for today's eye look to be super crazy, but who knows. Every time I start doing shadow, it ends up becoming more intense than how I originally thought it was gonna go. So we're just kind of along for the ride together, and we're gonna see where it ends up taking us. I'm going to hold off on doing foundation right now because I'm gonna do eyes first, but I wanna go ahead and kind of add a little bit of a thin veil of translucent loose powder to my skin. So I'm gonna use the Revlon Candid Loose Powder, and I'm gonna use that KVD number 20 Locket powder brush. One thing I love about this Revlon loose powder is it has this like little sifter on it. So if you're traveling, you don't have to worry about your powder going everywhere, which is nice because loose powder is a notoriously tricky thing to work with because it just wants to go everywhere. Nothing complicated here. Loosely run it over the skin. And it's interesting because I think I'm using the same brushes in the last 3 kind of makeup videos you'll see, and I don't know why. I've just not been in the mood to do like a thorough brush clean, which is kind of odd for me. So after I use my brushes, I just give them a quick clean with my Cinema Secrets, lay them flat to dry, and they're good to go for the next time. I'm gonna go on and do a little bit of action on my eyes. So today for eyes, I'm like, why not dig into something that I spent a lot of money on and it doesn't get enough use? I'm gonna be using a Pat McGrath palette, and this is the original Divine Rose palette. And let's see if I can't keep it simple and get away with only using my rephr number 15 brush. So to get started, I think I'm gonna mix together this more kind of cool toned purple with a pinch of this more reddy brown color. And then I got a fair amount on the brush, so I'm gonna tap that off, tilt my chin back, and I'm just gonna start very, very lightly in this outside corner. Yeah, that's giving a lot of color payoff right away. So I'm gonna keep it light. I'm gonna stick with that. And I'm just going to repeat on the other side. I wanna make sure I kind of keep that balanced. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna grab my little color switch from Sephora, and I'm just going to wipe off most of that pigment, or as much as I can get off. So took most of it off. And I am just gonna now use that same brush and work on blending that out. And then today, I don't know, my eyes just feel a little bit heavier than normal. So I want to really focus on lifting. And when I get to this outside corner, I'm gonna drag it up a little bit to help kind of lift the overall appearance of my eyes. I was pretty late on trying out these Pat McGrath eyeshadows. Same with Natasha Denona. I didn't try either brand's shadows until after I started my YouTube channel back in January. For me, since I'm not a big eyeshadow person, I don't know if it's worth for me running out and buying another one ASAP. Maybe if one really catches my attention, I'll add it to my collection, but right now I've got the Diviners 1 and I've got the Diviners number 2. I'm good with those. For my lid, I hope this goes the way I think I want it to, but I'm gonna go in with this more kind of pinky white tone. I don't think this has a ton of pigment. I hope it doesn't. That's what I'm counting on. Oh, it turns pinky purple. Okay, okay. We can make this work. Oh yeah, that's more like a duochrome pinky purple that has a little bit of like a rose gold kind of shift to it, which thank goodness I'm gonna use a concealer because this could make my under eyes. Yeah, if you look side to side, the blue purpley tones on this side are really kind of emphasizing that blue purpley tone I have on my lower lash line. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we will remedy that by going in with something slightly warmer. So I'm gonna go in with this pale golden color, and I'm gonna use that right over top of that lash shade. Since this is a little bit warmer, this should help to almost neutralize that shade. Yeah, that's what I said. You know, so many people that I chat with, they talk about scrapping entire videos because something goes wrong. And, you know, I was one of those people up until a couple weeks ago. And I was looking back at one of the videos I was editing, and I'm like, why do I cut through that? Why am I cutting out my mistakes? Because we all make mistakes. So why not share with you those mistakes so we can learn how to correct them together? I think that's good. I'm gonna leave it there, or else it's gonna get out of hand very, very quickly. We will come back to the eyes, but I'm gonna finish off the rest of the face first. For foundation, I've got a foundation that I've had sitting in my collection since it launched. I feel like here in Canada, this foundation launched towards the beginning of the year, and I have two shades because I couldn't decide which one was right. Still don't know, because even though I bought it when it first launched, I've not used it. It's just been kind of hanging out in my foundation drawer. But this is the new formulation of the L'Oreal True Match. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned or not, but the older formula that came in the shorter round bottle, that in the shade 2N was like my perfect shade match of all the foundations I've ever tried. And when I was looking at the color chart on the L'Oreal website for this new formula, it said shade 2.5N, which is Natural Almond, was closest to the previous shade in 2N. And then I ordered this one, I believe off Amazon, and it arrived, and I'm like, whoa, that is light. So then at Chopper's Drug Mart, I was looking and I picked up shade 2N, which is vanilla, and this looks a little too dark and too pink. So hopefully between these two, we can get a decent match. And to open it, you have to peel this little sticker off, or else it won't, the cap won't come off. And the sticker just says, with hydrating hyaluronic acid. I don't know if that's a topic for right now, but hyaluronic acid, it's a humectant. Hyaluronic acid will draw moisture into the skin. On its own, it's not really a hydrator, it's a humectant. Humectants help pull moisture in from the environment, but they don't hydrate on their own necessarily. So, marketing. I think I'm gonna start with shade 2, and I don't know how this is gonna go, so I'm gonna use the flat edge of a Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Ooh, that's liquidy. Okay, let's hope for the best. That looks like a decent shade. Okay. So, yeah, it's really liquidy, so it kind of drinks right into the sponge. And let's just go for it. If I get this all over and it's too dark, I can always go back in with the 2.5, which looks a little bit lighter, to brighten up. I feel like it's drying down a little bit darker than when it first goes on. However, I feel like it's kind of going with my neck, which is always a good thing. This feels very lightweight on the skin. You know, this is something I never do. I never really apply the foundation directly to the sponge, because your sponge, kind of like how this one's doing, it just drinks up so much of the product. But this is giving me a really beautiful finish. This is stunning. The previous formula, why I really loved it, I love the color. If you weren't careful with your application, it could look a little heavy on the skin, but I just worked with it, sheared it out, and I always really enjoyed it. But this one, it's much thinner, it's much more liquidy. It just kind of looks like skin. Wow, look at this. Like, I'm really happy with it. I'm able to build it up where I want a little coverage, but it's fine. Okay, I'm just being curious. So I'm gonna go in with that 2.5 vanilla, which looks a little bit lighter. I'm gonna take a pinch on the point of the sponge. I'm gonna put a little bit just towards the center of my face. Yeah, that looks darker. Or, sorry, that looks darker, that looks lighter. And I'm gonna try just brightening up a little bit here in the center. Okay, now this almost looks gray. So, good thing I ended up getting a second shade, because this just looks a little kind of ashy on the skin. It's workable. If you blend it out, I can definitely make this work. But I think going forward, I will pass 2.5 in onto a friend that's a little bit lighter than me, and I'll just stick with the 2 in, because that's a better shade match. For concealer, I'm gonna use this L'Oreal True Match Eye Cream in a concealer with 0.5 pure hyaluronic acid, and the shade is N1-2 Fair. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this. Oh, it has a little spout applicator. I'm gonna take a little bit just on the point of this sponge. Now, just looking at it as I dot it on, this does look like it has a little bit more warmth to it, but it's blending out lighter. Okay, so this is looking a little bit lighter. You know, some people really enjoy that look under the eyes that is slightly lighter and brighter. I don't love that. Actually, I need a brush. So I'm gonna grab the Hourglass number 3 flat shading brush. I'm gonna take a pinch of that concealer, put it on the point of the brush. Okay, because I like the shade that it looks when I apply it like this, but it almost lightens up as it blends out. Put a little bit right over here. I'm gonna kind of spread it. I'm gonna lift that outer corner of my eye. I'm gonna let that sit while I do the other side. Does that ever happen to any of you? Like, you're applying something and then all of a sudden you put on too much? I'm gonna blend out where I applied too much, and then that area where I want a little bit more coverage, I'm gonna let it kind of sit and hang out for a little bit, and then I'll go through and blend the other side. Okay, it's not bad. It's slightly emphasizing skin texture. Nothing crazy. Definitely better than a lot of them I've tried. So we'll just kind of have to see how this wears. So I'm gonna go back in with that KVD powder brush, and I'm gonna take the Pat McGrath under eye setting powder in Fair, which looks white, and I'm just going to barely tap into it. Tap it off. You need such a small amount of this powder. And then I'm gonna use my finger, press over that under eye concealer, and I'm just going to set that in place. Pick up a little bit more of that powder, go through, press in that, oh, wow. Okay, so pressing it in with your finger, I guess that just fraction of a minute, letting it set, and then using the warmth of your finger really helps kind of press into the skin. And this Pat McGrath powder is pricey, but it does such a beautiful job at smoothing the appearance of your under eye area. So I'm gonna take a little bit more of that Revlon powder, that same KVD brush, pick up some powder, and then I'm just going to set the rest of my face. Okay, base, it came out a lot better than I was expecting. I like this. Add some color to the face, and as I do this, I'm gonna add some of the colors I used to the eyes, just to kind of bring more harmony between the face and the eye. So I'm gonna start off with the Hourglass, and this is the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Lighting Power in Iridescent Strobe Light. So it is just a little, kind of like a pinky beige. I'm gonna use that rephr number 20. I was actually going back and forth in the comments with Maria from Night Star Beauty talking about this brush and how it's just such a beautiful oh wow. Okay, because I've been loving this with the Dior highlighter, and even with this Hourglass highlighter, it's perfect. Okay, this just might be my new favorite highlighting brush, like overall. Let me see, it's just such a pretty highlight. Oh, this just excites me. Can you see that? I just get so excited when I find new combinations of products that I've had in my collection for a while that just play so well together. Okay, love it. Absolutely love it. I just look at that glow. And it's Hourglass products, especially their ambient range products, they just always look so beautiful on camera. So I'm gonna go through and add some bronzer. So once again with that rephr number 22 bronzer brush, and I'm gonna go into a product that I don't feel like I give enough love, but this is the Gucci bronzer, and I have the shade number 1 Fair. So big downside with this bronzer is it has a very strong floral scent. Like, it smells like a slightly more tropic version of the Gucci Flora fragrance, but the color of this bronzer is perfect. It is a stunning bronzer color, and the compact is quite cute. So I am just going to take a little bit on the perimeter of my face, keep it high. You know how I've been, that mood I've been in lately, where I just want to keep all of my products kind of high up on the cheeks. Work it into the forehead, blend it back into the hairline. Take my brush, just pop, tap it off over that, and then I'm just gonna use the brush to kind of work it through the socket of my eye. And now I'm gonna go back in with that rephr number 15 brush, tap it off, and I'm gonna go right over that first darkest shade we applied from the Pat McGrath palette and see if I can't. Perfect. See, just adding that little bit of bronzer, it just helps to slightly warm up that more cool tone shade I had in my socket. I mean, this Gucci bronzer, for a bronzer, it's more of a neutral kind of cool bronzer, but even though it's more of a neutral cool, it's still warmer than that first shade I applied from the Pat McGrath palette. And just for fun, I'm gonna take a little bit there, a little bit under the nose, or under the, a little bit under my eyes, just to warm it up. Perfect. For blush, I don't know if I've used this on camera or not yet, but this is one of the Pat McGrath blushes, and I have the shade Flirtatious. So it looks like this. It's just a really kind of pretty pale beigey mauve, which color I love. And I'm gonna use the rephr number 24 blush brush. And just before I dip into it, that embossment is really, really beautiful. So I'm just going to kind of press my brush in, dust off the excess from the cheek, work it right between the blush, and I'm just gonna work it right between where the highlight and the bronzer meet. And I'm gonna also work this right on the kind of seam across the forehead where the bronzer meshes with my skin tone. This is like the perfect color to kind of merge the Hourglass highlighter and that Gucci bronzer together, because they're all very, very similar in their undertone. but they're all just kind of like nice variations of each color. I'm gonna go back with my powder brush and I'm just going to soften that up. And I wanna take my rephr number 15 brush and pick up a little bit more of that blush color. And we'll run that over my eyelid. You know what, let's give my skin a little bit of buff. So I have a little travel size of this Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder in Translucent. It does look quite yellow. That's an issue I run into a lot with Too Faced complexion products, is they run quite warm yellowy. And even in their cooler undertone foundations and concealers, they just make me look kind of sickly because I don't have strong yellow undertones in my skin. For buffing though, this is really pretty. This will just neutralize some of that pinkiness that we've added. Okay, that's pretty, that's nice. What do you think? Let me know. Do you like these Get Ready With Me styles? I've been loving them. For some reason, not kind of planning what I'm gonna say, not having like an agenda, you could say, for the video. There's just something about this kind of being like really casual, kind of spur of the moment. It's just, I feel a lot more open on camera. It's easier to talk. I've not had time to think or plan anything. It's just kind of grabbing and going through the process together. So if you like these style videos, let me know. So to kind of set everything in place, I'm gonna use the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better Setting Spray with skin loving hyaluronic acid, coconut water, and aloe vera extract. This has such a beautiful kind of mister to it, but before you buy anything like this, be prepared. It smells like coconut. It smells very similar to the Estee Lauder Bronzed Goddess fragrance. So if that's too much fragrance for you, you might want to skip this, but it's a nice setting spray if you don't mind the fragrance. Let's add a little bit to the lips. So I recently picked up this Clinique Quick Liner for Lips in the shade number 10 Baby Buff, and I'm gonna line, slightly fill. And this is the Westman Atelier Squeaky Clean Lip Balm in the shade Garcon. In the last video where I tried this out, the initial color really shocked me because you can see it looks quite kind of like a strong berry color, but once you blend it in, it just is kind of like a Your Lips But Better naturally flush kind of color, which I really enjoy. All right, so my live is starting in 12 minutes, so let's wrap this up with a little bit of brow and mascara. For brows, I'm gonna use up the last of my Benefit 3D brow tones in the shade number 4. Makes me sad. I think they discontinued this product. It was a beautiful product. I used this a lot when I first started my channel, but it's almost empty, so I am gonna use it today and then move it towards my empties. Oh no, I feel my under eyes are getting a little watery, which happens to me. This happens far often than not. So I'm gonna take a little cotton bud, and right on the side of the corner, I'm just gonna press and hold the cotton bud there to kind of stop any of the wateriness. I'm gonna go in with my Chanel Indomitable Intense Mascara in brown and just apply a thin coat to my upper lashes. Alrighty, and just for good measure, I'm gonna take my beauty sponge, give everything one quick press over, and I'm gonna add a mist of my Estee Lauder Sensuous Nude fragrance. It's a good fragrance. It's very summery, but it has this very kind of beachy, romantic feeling to the scent. And let me just give my skin one more look over before we go. I love this. Everything, oh, I'm getting a little bit of mascara transfer under my eyes. My eyes were watery before I put it on, so that's gonna happen. But overall, let me come in a little bit closer. I'm very happy with how this came out. Why have I not played with this new version of the L'Oreal True Match sooner? I really enjoy it. So, if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And also, If you've tried any of the products I've played with today, let me know down below. I would love to know what you feel, especially the Pat McGrath palettes. Are you like me? Are you kind of on the fence with whether they're worth it or not? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see the lives that I'm doing every Monday, they are on the Find Your Beauty Over 30 Facebook page. And I go live on Mondays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you all later. Bye, y'all.